Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye. We're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, chapter number 10. Today we're taking up at text number 50. Agrahid asanam bratra pranipatya prasaditaha Praja Sudharma Nirata Varnashrama Gunanvita Jugopa Pitravadramo Menere Pitaram Chatam. Asvidirasanam bratra Pranipatya prasaditaha Prajasudharma nirata Varnashrama gunanvita Shugopa pitravadramo Menere pitaram chatam. Agrahirasanam pratra Pranipatya prasadita Prajasadharma nirata Varnashrama gunanvita Shukopa pitravadramo Nilere pitaram chatam. Vaishnavis. Agrahirasanam bratra Pranipatya prasadita Prajasudharma nirata Varnashrama gunanvita Shukopa pitravadramo Minere pitaram chatam. Or ache. Agrahirasanam bratra Pranipatya prasaditaha Prajasudharma nirata Varnashrama gunanvita Shukopa pitravadramo Minere pitaram chatam. Word meanings. Agrahit, accepted. Asanam, the throne of the state. Bratra, by his brother Bharata. Pranipatya, after fully surrendering unto him. Prasaditaha, having been pleased. Praja, and the citizens. Sudharma nirata, fully engaged in their respective occupational duties. Varnashrama, according to the system of Varna and Ashrama. Guna anvita, all of them being qualified in that process. Jugopa, the Lord protected them. Pitrivat, exactly like a father. Ramaha, Lord Ramchandra. Menare, they considered. Pitarang, exactly like a father. Cha, also. Tam, him, Lord Ramachandra. Translation, being pleased by the full surrender and submission of Lord Bharata, Lord Ramachandra then accepted the throne of the state. He cared for the citizens exactly like a father, and the citizens, being fully engaged in their occupational duties of varna and ashrama, accepted him as their father. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. People are very fond of the pattern of Ram Raja. And even today, politicians sometimes form a party called Ram Raja, but unfortunately they have no obedience to Lord Rama. It is sometimes said that people want the kingdom of God without God. Such an aspiration, however, is never to be fulfilled. Good government can exist when the relationship between the citizens and the government is like that exemplified by Lord Ramachandra and his citizens. Lord Ramachandra ruled his kingdom exactly as a father takes care of his children, and the citizens, being obliged to the good government of Lord Ramachandra, accepted the Lord as their father. Thus, the relationship between the citizens and the government should be exactly like that between father and son. When the sons in a family are well trained, they are obedient to the father and mother. And when the father is well qualified, he takes good care of the children. As indicated here by the words Swadharma Nirata, Varnashrama Gunanvita, the people were good citizens because they accepted the institution of Varna and Ashrama, which arranges society in the Varna divisions of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, and the Ashrama divisions of Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. This is actual human civilization. People must be trained according to the different Varnashrama occupational duties. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 4.13, Chatur Varnyam Vayashrishtam Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. The four Varnas must be established according to the varying qualities and work. The first principle for good government is that it must institute this Varnashrama system. The purpose of Varnashrama is to enable people to become God conscious. Varnashrama charavata purushena parapuman Vishnu aradyate. The entire Varnashrama scheme is intended to enable people to become Vaishnavas. Vishnur asya devata. What's the entire Vaishnava scheme meant to do? Enable people to become Vaishnavas. Do you all agree? If you agree, please say Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, good. You agreed to the right thing. Thus, people should be trained to become Vaishnavas through the system of Varna and Ashrama, as they were during the reign of Lord Ramachandra, when everyone was fully trained to follow the Varnashrama principles. Simply enforcing laws and ordinances cannot make the citizens obedient and lawful. That is impossible. Throughout the entire world, there are so many states, legislative assemblies and parliaments, but still the citizens are rogues and thieves. Good citizenship, therefore, cannot be enforced. The citizens must be trained, as there are schools and colleges to train students to become chemical engineers, lawyers, or specialists in many other departments of knowledge. There must be schools and colleges to train students to become brahmanas, kshatriyas, vaishyas, shudras, brahmacharis, grihastas, vanaprasthas, and sannyasis. This will provide the preliminary condition for good citizenship, varnashrama gunanvita. Generally speaking, if the king or president is a rajarshi, the relationship between the citizens and the chief executive will be clear, and there will be no possibility of disruption in the state, because the number of thieves and rogues will decrease. In Kali Yuga, however, because the Varnashrama system is neglected, people are generally thieves and rogues. In the system of democracy, such thieves and rogues naturally collect money from other thieves and rogues, and thus there is chaos in every government, and no one is happy. But here, the example of good government is to be found in the reign of Lord Ramachandra. If people follow this example, there will be good government all over the world. Prescient. Okay, now I'm going to read the translations from 30 up to 49, because you've, to this point, I understand, been deprived of those translations. Is that true? Suffer no more. You can feast your ears on these translations. Text number 30. Thereafter, Lord Ramachandra found Sita Devi sitting in a small cottage beneath the tree named Shimshapa in the forest of Ashok trees. She was lean and thin, being aggrieved because of separation from him. Seeing his wife in that condition, Lord Ramachandra was very compassionate. When Ramachandra came before her, she was exceedingly happy to see her husband, and her lotus-like mouth showed her joy. After giving Bibhishana the power to rule the Rakshasa population of Lanka for the duration of one kalpa, Lord Ramachandra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan, placed Sita Devi on an airplane decorated with flowers and then got on the plane himself. The period for his living in the forest having ended, the Lord returned to Ayodhya, accompanied by Hanuman, Sugriva, and his brother Lakshmana. When Lord Ramachandra returned to his capital, Ayodhya, he was greeted on the road by the princely order, who showered his body with beautiful fragrant flowers, while great personalities like Lord Brahma and other demigods glorified the activities of the Lord in great jubilation. Upon reaching Ayodhya, Lord Ramachandra heard that in his absence, his brother Bharata was eating barley cooked in the urine of a cow, covering his body with the bark of trees, wearing matted locks of hair, and lying on a mattress of kusha. The most merciful Lord very much lamented this. When Lord Bharat understood that Lord Ramachandra was returning to the capital Ayodhya, he immediately took upon his own head Lord Ramachandra's wooden shoes and came out from his camp at Nandigram. Lord Bharata was accompanied by ministers, priests, and other respectable citizens, by professional musicians vibrating pleasing musical sounds, and by learned brahmanas loudly chanting Vedic hymns. Following in the procession were chariots drawn by beautiful horses with harnesses of golden rope. These chariots were decorated by flags with golden embroidery and by other flags of various sizes and patterns. There were soldiers bedecked with golden armor, servants bearing betel nut, and many well-known and beautiful prostitutes. Many servants followed on foot, bearing an umbrella, whisks, different grades of precious jewels, and other paraphernalia befitting a royal reception. Accompanied in this way, Lord Bharata, his heart softened by ecstasy and his eyes full of tears, approached Lord Ramachandra and fell at his lotus feet with great ecstatic love. After offering the wooden shoes before Lord Ramachandra, Lord Bharata stood with folded hands, his eyes full of tears, and Lord Ramachandra bathed Bharat with tears while embracing him with both arms for a long time. Accompanied by Mother Sita and Lakshmana, Lord Ramachandra then offered his respectful obeisances unto the learned brahmanas and the elderly persons in the family, and all the citizens of Ayodhya offered their respectful obeisances unto the Lord. The citizens of Ayodhya, upon seeing their king return after a long absence, offered him flower garlands, waved their upper claws, and danced in great jubilation. O King, Lord Bharata carried Lord Ramachandra's wooden shoes. Sugriva and Vibhishana carried a whisk and an excellent fan. Hanuman carried a white umbrella. Shatrughna carried a bow and 2 quivers, and Sita Devi carried a water pot filled with water from holy places. Angada carried a sword, and Jambavan, king of the Rikshas, carried a golden shield. O King Parikshit, as the Lord sat on his airplane of flowers, with women offering him prayers and reciters chanting about his characteristics, he appeared like the moon with the stars and planets. Thereafter, having been welcomed by his brother Bharata, Lord Ramachandra entered the city of Ayodhya in the midst of a festival. When he entered the palace, he offered obeisances to all the mothers, including Kaikeyi, and the other wives of Maharaj Dasharath, and especially his own mother, Kaushalya. He also offered obeisances to the spiritual preceptors such as Vasishta. Friends of his own age and younger friends worshipped him, and he returned their respectful obeisances, as did Lakshmana and Mother Sita. In this way they all entered the palace. Upon seeing their sons, the mothers of Ram, Lakshmana, Bharat, and Shatrughna immediately arose, like unconscious bodies returning to consciousness. The mothers placed their sons on their laps and bathed them with tears, thus relieving themselves of the grief of long separation. The family priest or spiritual master Vaisesika had Lord Ramachandra cleanly shaved, freeing him from his matted locks of hair. Then, with the cooperation of the elderly members of the family, he performed the bathing ceremony, Abhishek, for Lord Ramachandra, the water of the 4 seas and with other substances, just as it was performed for King Indra. Lord Ramachandra, fully bathed and his head clean-shaven, dressed himself very nicely and was decorated with a garland and ornaments. Thus he shone brightly, surrounded by his brothers and wife, who were similarly dressed and ornamented. And back to today's verse, which is number 50. Being pleased by the full surrender and submission of Lord Bharat, Lord Ramachandra then accepted the throne of the state. He cared for the citizens exactly like a father, and the citizens, being fully engaged in their occupational duties of varna and ashrama, accepted him as their father. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Dena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Dena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadahmayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvatutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shiveshakanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Agrahidasanam Bratra Pranipatya Prasadita Brajasva Dharma Nirata Varnashrama Gunanvita Jugopa Pitravadramo Minere Pitaram Chatam. Well, Prabhupada starts off by saying that people are fond of the pattern of Ram Raja, but they don't want Ram. They just want the peace so they can enjoy. And it's natural that everyone wants to enjoy, but the difficulty is that they don't really know how. The Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 2nd chapter, gives some guidelines, guiding principles for everyone, for all human society. In Sutta Goswami begins, Savai Pumsam Parodharmo Yato Bhakti Radhoksaje Ahaitukya Pratiyata Yayatma Suprasidati. First establishes that Savai Pumsam Parodharmo, the supreme Parodharmo, the topmost dharma, which means it should take priority over everything else. Savai Pumsam Parodharmo Yato Bhakti Radhoksaje is devotional service to Krishna at Hoksaja. And he describes the quality of that devotional service. It should be ahaituki apratiyata, means unmotivated and uninterrupted, in order to satisfy the self. In fact, it's the only way to attract Krishna's attention. In the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, when describing the way in which the Lord is pleased, it is mentioned that when Ramachandra was present on the planet, many great demigods came and they placed their heads and helmets on the place where Lord Ramachandra used to keep his lotus feet. But he wasn't as pleased with all of these great beings as he was with the monkeys and the other beings of the forest, the Vanaras, because they had an innocent and very sincere desire just to serve Ramachandra, even though ostensibly they were not great sages. There's something on the gain here needs to go down. It's ringing, extra ring. I found this verse very touching, that actually Ramachandra noticed the Vanaras and the monkeys more than he did the great demigods and such. And it was because of their innocent desire to serve him, sincere desire to serve him without any question. And no mixture. So ahaituki pratiyata yayatma suprasidati. And then dharmasya hyapavargasya nartarto yopakalpate dharmasya nartasya dharmaikantasya kama labaya hismitaha. Then Sudha Goswami says, dharmasya hyapavargasya nartor toyo pakalpate. That all of the work that we do is meant for apavarga. Ultimately, we're meant to connect our work in the ways in which we can go back to Godhead. Apavarga means not pavarga, which is pa, ba, ba, ma, as you all know. The process of becoming more and more entangled in the material world and suffering and so forth. So dharmasya, so one shouldn't use a dharma when you perform some kind of sacrifice. Then you'll get material rewards, but that shouldn't be used for sense gratification. Nartasya dharmaikantasya kama labhaya hismitaha. One should not use it, the material gain that one gets from doing one's dharma, to try to enjoy the material world. And that's more definitively said in the next verse. Kamasya nendriya pritir labo jiveta yavata jivasya tattva jignasya narto yashcheha karma bihi. Definitely life's desires should never be aimed at sense gratification. One should eat to live, not live to eat, as they say. Kamasya nindriya pritir labo jiveta yava jivasya tattva jignasya. You should live, be healthy, but only for the purpose of inquiring, so that you can be strong enough to do your Krishna conscious duty, to inquire and to continue the process of devotional service. So these are guidelines for all of human society. As the Srimad Bhagavatam comes out and gives these principles in the very beginning, anyone who follows this will find actual satisfaction. Now, as far as society goes, that's a bigger project. It's hard enough to contain oneself and to live by these principles. However, when you have a huge project which includes all of human society, then you need some organizing principle. And of course, there have been many experiments around the world in ways to organize the population. Prabhupada mentions here democracy. And democracy is based on an idea that everyone in society will be educated. It's based on education, really, because you're supposed to have a population that knows what they're voting for and why. Of course, that hasn't worked out so well lately, because we really don't have a democracy. For instance, in America, we have a plutocracy, whereas it means that people that have the most money and can buy the most airtime and other kinds of influence then win the election, and they tend to stay in office. And how, nonetheless, we notice, at least I've noticed, in the system of politics, that people are always eager to have a great leader. And even if the leader is the worst kind of rogue that you've ever seen, still people clamor like, well, maybe he's good, and they try to glorify him, and people get really excited when he or she wins the election. And we notice that there's emotion there. People are emotionally attached to having a leader that's actually qualified and that's smart and beautiful or compassionate, has power to help, because it's the nature of living beings. Jivos, every living beings are all maintained by the Supreme Personality. What's my verse? No, it's another. No, it's another one too. Nityo nityanam chaitanas chaitananam eko bahunam yo vididhati kaman. It's a natural way in which every living being is maintained. It's our constitutional position to be maintained by the Supreme. And therefore, we gravitate towards leaders because it's natural for us to take shelter somewhere. We have to have shelter. And in human society, the psychology is there also. We can't be independent. We have to take shelter of some kind of leader. So here, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning a couple of components that are very important. One is that the leader should be a Rajarshi. Means a person who has all good qualities. All good qualities means that the person is actually concerned about the welfare of the citizens and also knows what welfare is, knows how to give people what helps them to execute the real purpose of human form of life. And the second thing is that people have to be educated in the system of Varnashrama. Specifically, Prabhupada mentions that there have to be a certain class of people. Of course, he didn't mention in this purport, but he did frequently, that his mission in the Krishna consciousness movement was to train brahmanas. And that is because at present time, society doesn't have a head. Mukhabahu rupadebhya purushasya shamasahai chatbaro jagnire varna gunar vipradayo pratak. 11th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, says, or maybe it's 10th, says that from the universal form of the Lord, Mukhabahu rupadebhya, from the face, from the arms, from the belly, from the legs, were born the various varnas, because everything emanates from the body of the Lord, actually. You know that from the Purush Sukta and from Krishna's statements in the Bhagavad Gita, Ham Sarvasya Prabhavo. And these various divisions of society, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that I've created these, so they're eternal. Prabhupada stressed this over and over again, that it's not that you can do away with them. You can have some idea that you'll do away with them and you'll just have a classless society, but then before you know it, you have at least two classes. One that's deciding where all the classless people are going to go and how they're going to be regulated, and the people who are doing the regulating. It always shakes out in that way in the four varnas. And so Prabhupada wanted at least that there be a head to society, because he noted that nobody's being trained as a brahmana nowadays. And therefore people don't know what to do. In many countries, the main concern is how much money you make. For instance, sorry to be so American-centric, but I just came from there, so at least in America, the idea is that if the economy's going okay, then everything's fine. It doesn't matter, anything else is going wrong. But if you have a strong economy, everyone's like, okay, we're doing great. And as long as we're selling a lot of things. This means it's out of balance. And people don't know, ultimately, the principles that I mentioned in the very beginning, that life's desires should never be aimed at sense gratification, and that whatever sacrifices you do that bring you some results are meant to be engaged in the service of the Lord. So without knowing those, without hearing from prominence, from the head, then society will be in disarray and people will be unhappy. I've been in countries where there was a strong, like a monarch or a king. And if the king is even slightly good, I mean, even in countries where the king is, or the ruler is bad, if they're strong, then there's a semblance that things are kept together. Even in the Bhagavatam, we find Vena. I mean, even bringing up his name, I'm sorry to ruin your morning. He's not so well liked in the Shastra. In fact, it's mentioned in the 7th canto. Everybody got mercy except for Vena, because he was such a demon. But it's mentioned there that he was a strong ruler, and therefore, at least he kept the bad guys down. When he was killed, then the thieves and rogues ran rampant. So you see, the strong ruler, even if they're bad, there's some benefit. What to speak if they're a little good? What to speak if they're really good? One can imagine how sweet the society is. My frame of reference was in Thailand, maybe about 20 years ago, when I used to pass through there on the way to India. And there was a king. There still is a king, but I noticed it back then. Especially, he was a very educated person, and he had some idea about how to help people. He was doing educational programs, and he was also helping people with agriculture to support them, and people loved him. In fact, even now, people celebrate the birthday of the king. They have a big mela. Of course, it's not called a mela in Thailand, but they have a big celebration. And also, you can't blaspheme the king in Thailand. If you say anything about the king, you're going to be in trouble. Even in the UK, I was sending some postcards from there a few years ago, putting on the stamps. I was in a hurry, had a lot of postcards to send, and I put the stamp has a picture of the Queen on it. I put it upside down, and one of the devotees said, "This won't go." And I said, "Why not?" He said, "The Queen's upside down." My point is that in the collective society, first of all, there's a tendency for people to want a ruler, and especially they would like to have, a smart ruler who's actually looking out for them. And when you have that, when I was in Thailand and I felt that, there was a semblance of a good king, people were very happy and peaceful and joyful. And there was a sense there of being protected, that we're all going in the right direction. So this could work. And if people also have training according to their propensities, then they're happy as well. Sometimes when I'm leaving my house, I'm driving down the street, I see a lot of people out working. I live in the suburbs, and so there's a lot of people out mowing lawns, workers. They come out, they clip trees, they mow the lawn, and do this menial kind of work. And they're happy because they're out there working. Krishna says in the fourth chapter of the Gita, third chapter of the Gita, that you can't maintain your physical body without work. People have to work in some way in order to be happy. You can't, even if people, they get a lot of money and then they stop working and they're not happy. They think they'd be happy, that they're going to stop working, but it doesn't make them happy. It's well known also, people retire and they become morose when they retire because they don't feel useful anymore. So people have to work, and if they're trained to work according to their propensity, and there's a place for them where they can work, and it fits with the principles that Sutta Goswami mentions at the beginning of the Bhagavatam, that they're working in such a way that they're pleasing the Lord, then you've got a society that really is satisfactory and hums right along. So what to do from here, because the world seems to be in a little bit of disarray. unless it's just my negative perception. Maybe you have your own vision of how things are going, but things look a little disjointed around the world to me. Anyone? Yes, one person, two, three. So what to do from here? The Krishna consciousness movement is very important. There's training and education. The more there are ideal people walking around and being trained, and how to, what the goal of life is and how to achieve it, who can teach other people, that's what we call a really good start. And of course, if there are ways in which to train people thoroughly in how to be Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras, and they're very good at what they do, then according to Krishna's system, there's a natural way that society will be productive, people will become happy. So that theory is substantiated throughout the Shastra, and it is something Prabhupada spoke about frequently, and it's something that he mentioned right here in the purport. So now we'll take a few reflections or questions. Anything that you heard so far that you want to reflect back, or a question that you think will deepen the conversation? Yes, Bhagavatam, Prabhu. Do we have an extra microphone so that people online can hear?
Srila Prabhupada noted in the purport that good citizenship cannot be legislated, and that
what can't be legislated?
Good citizenship
cannot be legislated.
Thank you,
yes.
And also that requires training. So I'd love to understand perhaps the whole distinction between legislation versus training.
Would you get a new airport next to the temple here or something? It's going over. Well, one thing is, human psychology, Prabhupada noted it and was expert at it, and also taught it to us in the form just of management. And that is, there has to be love and trust in a society. In fact, when he wrote to Karandar, Prabhu, one of his early GBCs and managers, he told him that you should create an environment in which people want to do service. Their mood should be individual, spontaneous, and voluntary. And that you should always give them a fresh challenge to rise up and meet. And this also indicates the mode in which people are most motivated to cooperate in society, or in any organization. If you have a company, if you have an organization or a family, people are mostly or best motivated by a sense of gratitude and love towards their leaders in the family, in the company, and so forth. So we can see here, because people loved the Lord Ramachandra, because of his qualities, this became very effective. People naturally wanted to please him. And there wasn't so much of a need for many rules and regulations. And we find, unless people are trained properly, then they'll be overcome. This comes up in the 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Unless people are properly trained in Krishna consciousness, and the habit that they have for committing sinful activities is dried up by the process of Krishna consciousness, then it's very difficult to legislate. You have to give more and more laws. And in America, practically the whole population's in jail now. Yes. I mean, obviously that's a huge exaggeration, but way more people than need to be in jail are in jail. Of course, it's a growth industry and they make a lot of money out of it. That's just an aside. But the fact is that if you actually have a system where people can reform themselves, Kechit kevalya bhaktya Vasudeva parayana agam dhunvanti kartsnena nihara iva bhaskara. The system of Krishna consciousness can actually clear the mist of ignorance from people's hearts. In Chicago, 1975, when Prabhupada came there was a big article in the newspaper that said crime, why, and what to do. And Prabhupada, he talked so much about that because he met the chief of police in Chicago. And he said, we know crime, why, and what to do. He asked the officials of the city, he said, we know what to do, we Krishna conscious people. He said, give us some buildings here and send us your criminals and we'll reform them. Because Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati kinchana sarvar gunas tatra samasati sura harava bhaktasya kuto mahadguna manoratina sati davato bahi. Bhagavatam sticks to this principle again and again that if you perform Krishna conscious activities, you'll naturally develop good qualities. That comes up in the series of principles I mentioned in the beginning. Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janaya Ashrivairagyam Jnanam Yachayarahaitukam. If you perform devotional service, naturally you'll develop knowledge and detachment. Good qualities come. So there has to be some kind of training so people have connection with at least the mode of goodness, but to speak of with Krishna consciousness. And if there's also a sense of love and trust for the leadership, then naturally people will go out of their way to follow the rules and regulations and do more so that they can be good citizens. Did that answer your question? Okay. Let's have more reflections and questions. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, you are saying about that people are mostly engaged in sense gratification. So my question was that even though someone is practicing the devotional service, but still the desire for sense gratification does not go. And so I was just thinking on this point a few days back also.
You said that even as they're performing devotional service, the sense gratification doesn't go.
Yeah, the desire for sense gratification does not go. So I was just thinking that is the mind which makes a person to think about sense gratification, or it's the karma which acts and makes a person desire for sense gratification.
Well, the two are one and those are the same thing. If there's a predisposition to enjoy sense gratification in one way or another, that's also coming from karma. And ideally, when one takes to the process of devotional service, then step by step, one becomes purified of the desire to enjoy the material world through realization. That's mentioned also in the second chapter of the Bhagavatam, beginning with Shushusho Shradhanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Syan Mahat Seveya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nishevana. If you serve great souls, then naturally you'll develop a taste for hearing about Krishna. And then Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hrityam Taksto Hibadrani Vitunoti Suritsatam. Lord Shri Krishna, who is the Paramatma, the super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who relishes his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. What is an airport here? Or is this a military takeover? Nashta praishu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatyutama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. So, in this progression of verses, Sutta Goswami is noting the fact that if you take to the process, Krishna will help you to cleanse the heart from material desires. Then he mentions in this verse as a halfway point, or there's a point at which, even more than halfway, you feel that you're almost free from material desires. They're almost destroyed till nil, but not completely. But then, tada rajas tamo bhava kama lubadayaschaye cheta iterana vidam stitam sakve prasidati. Then, tada, at that time, when one becomes freed altogether from the lower modes of material nature, one actually comes to the point of transcendence. Tada rajas tamo bhava kama lubadayaschaye Cheta itera anavidam stitam sattve. Stitam sattve, this is not sattva from the material world. As the acharyas comment on this verse, it means Shuddha sattva. One comes to that point. And then, evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogata bhagavat tattva vijnanam mukta sangha sijayate. At that time, the mind becomes very joyful, naturally, the Brahmabhuta position. But your question really is, but point is, first I wanted to make, is that the progression is there. You will become free from material desires. The premise, you said, you perform devotional service and the desires don't go away. That's not true, they do. It just takes some time. So what to do about that? 11th canto Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Krishna tells Uddhava, Jata Shradam Makatasu Nirvina Sarvakarmasu Veda Dukatmakam Kamams Prityage Pirnishvara Tato Bhajitamam Prita Shraddha Lurjuda Nishchaya Jushamanams Tatankamams Duko Darkams Jagarayan. He said, he recognizes, okay, he says, Jata Shraddha, your faith has awakened, right? In devotional service, in hearing about Krishna. Matkatasu. Nirvina Sarvakarmasu. You have this feeling that of all sense gratification leads to misery, and you're also disgusted with the material world and your involvement in it. But then he says, Parityage Pyanishvara. Ishvara means the controller, it also means the power to do something. So Parityage means, but still, even though you know all these things, you're not able to give it up. Tato bhajeta mam prita, he said, know that because you're in the process, you're very dear to me. Tato bhajeta mam prita, go on worshiping me, he says. Shraddha Nishchaya, with determination, knowing that if you go on, you'll come to this point. And Jushamanam Shtatankamams, Duko Darkams Jagarayam. He said, you can have a little bit of remorse, but not too much, that I can't do this, and then become depressed and give it up. So, I mean, the simple answer, which I could have given, which is basically, devotional service does work, just you have to stay in the process. And it may work sooner or it may work later, but it will work. Cultivate knowledge of that, just as you would when you go to a doctor and you get good medicine. Understand that the medicine is already, it's many double-blind studies been done, it does work, and that if you keep taking it the way it's been prescribed, then you're very likely to become cured from the disease. So you should have that faith and continue. Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Did you fix it? Yes?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for giving wonderful class. So you are talking about training. Krishna conscious training.
Yes.
People require Krishna conscious training. So we see practically it is government duty to give people training.
Who?
Give people training about
New people training.
So practically see in current stage, if you look India, so it is our nation is democracy nation. Democracy, there is a democracy. And practically it is said by that democracy means it is ruled by demons. So they themselves require training. So how they can give training people? First point. And second point,
Maybe I should deal with one point at a time. It seems quite...
by Prabhupada mercy, there are some good community also. Yes, by Krishna conscious movement, some people are recovered. But if you see, India is very large country, and practically give training on ground level by our Krishna conscious movement, it is also not possible, because there are many village, many people, they don't know moral ethics, they smoke, drink. So in current stage, is it really possible to rectify people, to recover people like that on that stage?
Yeah, it is. It's possible. And Prabhupada's vision was not that everyone becomes trained, but his equation was if 1% of the population could become trained. Of course, that's a lot in India. But we notice that if you look at history, you'll find that movements such as ours have taken root by expert inculcation, teaching deeply so that people can take to it. There are ideologies that have taken root all over the world. For instance, the idea of democracy comes from somewhere. Even in recent history, it comes from somewhere. And there are also other ideologies. Marxism obviously comes from Karl Marx and Engels. And there are other ideas about how the world should be run. Where did they come from? They came from an individual, and it was propagated. For instance, the whole idea about America, there were founding fathers. They came up with a document. It's still there. You can go look at it. It's in Washington, D.C. There's a document, the original Magna Carta, where people said, this is how society should be. These are the principles we should live by. And then there's a Constitution of the United States. That's also preserved. So everyone can go look at it and say, hey, this is how we're running our country. It comes from this document. And after that, there were a few more documents called the Bill of Rights and so forth. Those are also preserved and available, but not that many. But because they were written down and they were established and people agreed upon it, and then it was taught, then it spread. The very idea of America breaking off from the British Crown started from book distribution. I don't know if you know that or not, but Thomas Paine took up the task of, he wrote a little booklet about the same size as Fractional Yoga. And he sold it throughout the colonies in America, and everybody bought it. To date, it's the best-selling book of all time per capita of any other book. Everybody in the colonies bought it, and that's what started the revolution, according to historians, in America. So change is possible through inculcation, through distribution of knowledge and so forth, and of systematic training. In your own country, I believe it was Nehru who had an idea to start technical schools. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he thought India should lead the world in technology. Does India lead the world in technology? You're darn right it does. If you come to where I live, Silicon Valley, it looks more like Mumbai than Mumbai looks. There are more people from India there because they're all expert in technology. That was an idea started by one person and spread that let's start schools to train people in technology. So the idea is sound. After all, living entities are tatastha. They can be swayed one way or another. You just have to have a clear system, and you have to propagate it and continue to do so, and you can have success doing that. That's oversimplification, but for these purposes and the time we have, that'll do. We have time for half a question. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
So, our movement that we are offering Krishna consciousness to everyone, no discrimination. So, it's attractive. People get attracted towards it.
Affected towards what?
Krishna consciousness.
They get affected by Krishna consciousness.
So, they are inspired to take up to it.
Yes.
But there are many obstacles also.
Yes.
Because Krishna consciousness means it's a revolution in your life. It's like changing everything, what you have been doing before.
Not so much. Actually, if you were going to become a jnani, then you'd have to change everything.
Yeah.
As jnanis, you have to sleep on the floor. You have to, fix your mind on just dry logic and so forth. But Krishna consciousness is more like human society is. It's the most natural thing, because in Krishna consciousness, we just kind of have fun. That's what people always really want to do. If you notice what people, once they get out of work, what do they go do? They go dance, they go eat, they go drink, get intoxicated. And what do we do all the time? Dance, drink, eat, get intoxicated on the holy names. It's just pure, that's all. And so we're really doing what's natural for people. It's not unnatural at all. It's just people are they actually get really tired of the old kind of sense gratification. For instance, in California, where I live, we set up once a month a little festival on a street corner. And it's right next to the place where people have bars and restaurants. And they come out on Friday night to enjoy. And so on Friday night, what do people want? They want lights. They want some, association. They want to hang out with friends and stuff like that. They want to sing, hear music. And probably they want to drink and eat. So what we do, we have a festival. We have lights. We have singing. We have drinking of, Varuni beverage or whatever they're serving there, and singing, dancing. And we notice that a lot of people, they're on their way to go enjoy in the bar, and then they see the chanting and the devotees and everybody else having fun dancing, and they think, well, maybe I'll stay here. This, there's no cover charge, and it looks like more fun, and it's kind of mystical. So it's really natural for people to take to Krishna consciousness. It's what they're looking for anyway. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has the perfect program for everybody. And plus we have philosophy to back it all up so people can fortify their understanding. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming in here today for this Bhagavatam class. This Tato Jayam Udiraya. This is our main means of conquering over the material energy, hearing Bhagavatam. And today was so nice, wasn't it, to hear about Lord Ramachandra? And now you get to go out and do service and think of Krishna all day long, interact with devotees, have prasadam, have fun. Gaur Premanande, Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Nitai Gaura Haribo, Bo, Haribo, Nitai Gaura Haribo. Vanchakalptaruscha Kripasindabevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Gaur Premanande Hari Haribo. Have a fantastic day out there. Remember to treat all the devotees as they're better than kings, Prabhupada said. Try to do service to all the nice Vaishnavas and try to serve all living entities by giving them some nice Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.